Welcome to day 1 of our 5-day Yin Yoga Series for Wellbeing. Today's class is focused on healthy hips, and we will be exploring gentle postures that allow us to nourish this region of the body. We won't be using any props in this class, and we'll be holding postures for about 5 minutes. Throughout the duration of these long held postures, we are really going to have the opportunity to notice thought patterns, notice sensations in the mind, in the body. So be gentle with yourself. When you're ready, afford yourself a moment to find a comfortable seated position. You might find it helpful to keep your eyes closed throughout the duration of this practice as you strengthen your communion with the inner body, your inner state of awareness and trust. Giving yourself permission to soften, perhaps tuning into the subtleties of the breath, and knowing that there's no need to try and change anything. There's no need to control the breath, simply allowing it to be. From here, we'll begin to warm up the neck, gently lowering the left ear towards the left shoulder. You might like to walk the right fingertips out towards the edge of the mat, finding a beautiful stretch along the right side of the neck, mindfully guiding the chin towards the left armpit, and lowering the chin to chest. Inhale, raise the head, return the right palm to the thigh. And this time lowering the right ear towards the right shoulder. Maybe walking the left fingertips out. Guiding the chin towards the right armpit. Chin to chest. Inhale, return to center, placing both palms on the knees. You might like to create a little bit more fluidity, finding some half moon shapes, and gently rolling the neck, the head. If you observe any regions around the neck, the upper back, the shoulders that feel a little interesting, you might like to pause there for a moment. Breathe into these regions of the body. Beginning to slow down the movement. And from here, we'll take a seated cat-cow, palms on the knees. Inhale, scoop the chest forward, gaze up. Exhale, curl and round, chin to chest. Moving at your own rhythm. Finding your cadence as we flow through these gentle spinal flexions and extensions. On your next exhale, pausing with a rounded spine. Inhale, guide the chest over to the right. Inhale, scoop the chest forward to the front. Exhale, halfway, scooping the chest to the left. And back where we started. You might like to carry on with this movement, flowing through an imaginary north, south, east, and west with the chest. Or perhaps inviting a little bit more fluidity in, creating any organic movement that feels right for you. Remembering that it's more about what the posture feels like rather than what it looks like. If you are flowing in one direction, you might like to change the direction of the circles. Slowing down the movement, we'll meet in an upright seated position, reconnecting to the breath. Inhale, extend the arms skywards, and we'll take a seated twist. Exhale, twisting to the left, tenting up onto the left fingertips behind you, maybe gazing over that left shoulder as we press the outer edge of the right hand into the left thigh. Doing your best to ground down through the sits bones, finding length through the vertebral column. And imagining that you can twist a little more, create a little more space with every exhalation. Inhale, return to center. From here, we'll swap the cross of our legs so that the opposite shin is in front. Roll the shoulders back. One breath here. Inhale, raise the arms overhead, and we'll find the twist on the other side. Doing your best to be present and hold space for the sensations that you are experiencing. No judgment. Inhale, return to center. Roll the shoulders back and down, creating space between the earlobes and the tops of the shoulders. And we'll prepare for our first posture of this practice, really being gentle, moving slowly with intention. We're going to keep our left leg crossed as we extend our right leg out on an angle, coming into half butterfly. This posture somewhat resembles Parivrita Janusirsasana in Hatha Yoga, although we're really going to be focusing on a passive surrender here. So maybe that means staying upright, or you might begin to creep the arms, the fingers forwards on either side of that right leg, allowing the upper body to melt on top of that thigh. You might notice that with every subsequent breath, you can go a little further. Perhaps lowering your forehead down onto the right leg. And if your forearms are on the earth, you might like to place your palms facing skywards to really help you release and soften. Using the first minute to find a stable posture, You might feel a tremendous stretch along the left side body around the QL region of the lower back. Or perhaps you feel this around the upper back, the back of the hamstrings, the calf muscle. It's going to be different for everyone, so really tune into your own unique experience with compassion. If you notice any sharp pains or electric sensations, this is an indication to back out of the posture. What we're really aiming for here is to create space to be with that dull ache that might be stagnating around these regions where we store tension, where we store emotions. Slowing down, letting go. Mindfully guiding your awareness to this posture, taking 3 more intentional breaths in this half butterfly. And slowly pressing your palms into the earth, placing them under the shoulders and using arm strength to help you mindfully roll up one vertebra at a time. Taking as much space as you like, and when you're ready, crossing the right leg in, and we'll set up for half butterfly on the other side. This time the left leg is extended and the right hip is slightly opened, so we're not squared as we would be in a traditional head to knee pose, creating that space so that we can stretch the side body. When you're ready, beginning to fold forward, melting into the posture. Using your breath as an anchor, a tool that will forever guide you to the present moment. Know that you are safe here. Know that it is okay to soften. returning your awareness to the sensations of this posture, and taking 3 more mindful breaths in half butterfly. Lovingly guiding yourself out of the posture, moving slowly with the breath. It might feel nice to roll the shoulders once or twice. And from here we'll set up for butterfly pose. Both legs are extended out in front, beginning to externally rotate the hips, bend the knees, guiding the soles of the feet together as we allow the legs to splay opened. You might like to place the palms on the thighs, on the ankles, the calves. Maybe you're staying all the way upright. Or if you feel comfortable, you might like to come into a forward fold, hinging from the hips. Maybe lowering down onto the forearms. It might feel nice to have the palms facing skywards. And if it's in your practice, perhaps lowering down onto the forehead, creating a pillow with the hands. And this can be a really intense posture for anyone who holds emotions in the hips, particularly around the outer glutes. So be gentle. Know that it's okay to back out of the posture if you've gone a little too far. And when you're ready, finding stillness. If the mind had begun to wander, guiding yourself to the breath, offering yourself 3 more loving breaths in butterfly pose. Wherever you are in the posture, beginning to gently unravel the spine, using your hands for support, perhaps rolling the shoulders. It might feel nice to create some half circles with the neck and the head, inviting some gentle mobility, some gentle movement into the back of the neck. Maybe creating some full moon circles. You might like to place your palms behind you, separate the legs slightly, and begin to fan out the legs, inviting some movement into the outer hips. After these static holds, it can feel quite nice. Taking any additional movements that you like. And we'll come into Child's Pose Balasana, facing the short edge of the mat, attempting to join the big toes together, widening the knees slightly, creating space to allow your belly, your chest to melt towards the earth. Arms are extended out in front, maybe lowering the forehead down onto the earth. And this might look different for everyone, but imagining as though you can connect your sits bones to your heels. If you're finding this a bit challenging, you might like to place a blanket underneath your sits bones, giving you a little extra support. Noticing the breath, observing where you're feeling sensation, and being curious. Are you experiencing physical sensation, or is it more of a mental narrative? A story that you continue to tell yourself over and over about how you feel? What might it be like to detach yourself from these thoughts? Simply allowing yourself to rest in stillness, letting go. Guiding your awareness to this posture, taking 3 more loving breaths in child's pose. Placing the palms underneath the shoulders and using arm strength to help you slowly roll up and out of the posture. Neck and head coming up last. From here we'll come onto all fours, coming into a tabletop position. Knees are underneath hips, wrists are underneath shoulders. And we'll take a traditional cat and cow to invite some movement into the spine. Flowing at your rhythm. On our inhale, scooping the chest forwards, gazing up. Exhale, gently pressing into the palms, rounding the spine, drawing the navel to the spine. Once more. And from tabletop position, we'll tent up onto our fingertips, engaging the core muscles slightly, grounding down through the left leg as we inhale and guide the right knee towards the chest, mindfully placing that right foot down between the hands. You might like to tuck the back toes under or keep them pointed. Our front knee is in line with the ankle. Hips are squared. Coming into an upright position, we're going to place the right palm on the right thigh, ensuring that both hips are squared to the front of the mat, broadening across the heart space. Settling into a supported lunge, finding a 90-degree angle between the right leg and the earth, feeling a lovely opening for the left hip flexor, knowing that this doesn't have to be an exaggerated posture. Finding your variation. Doing your best to keep the hips and the shoulders stacked. Softening the muscles of the face. Breathe. Mindfully returning the palms to either side of that front foot. And from here, we'll guide our arms to the inside, walking our right foot out to the edge of the mat as we come into lizard posture, Prisana. Really allowing the hips to sink towards the earth, whilst ensuring that that knee is in line with the ankle. If it's in your practice, you might like to externally rotate the hip so that the heel is in, the toe is facing out on a diagonal, and the knee is tracking in line with that toe. Maybe lowering down onto the forearms. If the earth feels a little bit far away in this posture, it might be nice to use a bolster, a block or two to help support you, help support your arms, your chest. Allowing yourself to soften. Noticing if you're tensing the region around the neck. Seeing if you can release. And taking about 3 more gradual, intentional breaths in lizard posture. If you're on your forearms, guiding your palms down under the shoulders, placing the right palm on the outer edge of that right foot, and we'll begin to guide our right foot over to the left wrist as we set up for Swan Pose. The hips are squared, the left leg is still extended behind you. You might like to point the toes or keep them tucked. For an easier variation or less sensation, it might be nice to guide that right heel in towards the left hip. Or if it's in your practice, maybe guiding the right foot further away from the torso so that the shin is parallel with the short edge of the mat. Maybe staying upright, maybe folding forwards. Letting go. Guiding your awareness to the regions where you are feeling sensation. Breathe. Taking 3 more breaths in this sleeping swan pose. And when you're ready, gently guiding your torso upright, placing the palms under the shoulders, mindfully guiding the right leg under the hips as we return to a tabletop position. It might feel nice to create some organic movement here, circling the hips towards the heels, shoulders over the wrists, listening to your body. Returning to tabletop, reconnecting with the breath, tenting up onto the fingertips, engaging the core, and this time mindfully guiding the left leg and placing the left foot down between the palms. Taking any movement that feels good. Maybe staying in a low variation of Anjaneyasana, or coming upright as we place the left palm on the left thigh. Being mindful to keep the hips squared, keeping that left knee aligned with the left ankle. A slight tuck of the pelvis so that we're really stretching into the hip flexors on the right side body. Keeping the chest broad. Breathe. If you are in an upright position, mindfully guiding your palms down onto either side of that front foot, and then guiding the left palm to the inside of that left leg, heel toeing the left foot out towards the edge of the mat, setting up for Prisana, lizard pose. Again, we want the hips to be squared in this posture. Although if you have quite a bit of hip mobility, it might feel nice to turn that left foot out on a diagonal so that we're opening the hips slightly and really sinking the body down towards the earth. Breathe. Taking 3 more gradual breaths in lizard posture. Mindfully placing the palms under the shoulders, guiding the left palm to the outside of the left leg, and beginning to heel toe the left foot over to the right wrist, setting up for Swan Pose. Knowing that it's okay to move slowly. Remembering that the transitions themselves are just as important as the postures. It's all about being present, being mindful, and being compassionate and curious to your own subtle experience. When you're ready, finding stillness. Using these final breaths in Sleeping Swan to soften, to surrender. If you are on your forearms, gently placing the palms under the shoulders, tucking the back toes under and guiding yourself upright to a tabletop position. Again, finding any organic movement that feels nice. And when you're ready, joining the shins and the knees together, lowering the sits bones down onto the heels as we come into diamond pose, Vajrasana. Reconnecting with the breath. You might like to stay in this posture or know that it's always here for you to return to. We will set up for a half saddle, which you might know as a half hero pose in Hatha Yoga. Taking a few more mindful breaths in diamond pose. And from here you might like to come forwards on the mat slightly. Keeping the knees together, we're going to separate our feet, scooping the fleshy portion out from the calf muscles and giving yourself space to guide the thighs, the sits bones down between the legs. Toes are facing towards the back of the mat. And you might like to place your palms down behind your shoulders, broadening across the heart space, playing around with the hand positioning. If you notice any sharp discomfort around the knees, you might like to place the right foot on the earth or extend the leg out in front, keeping the knee facing skywards, keeping the hips squared, maybe lowering down onto the forearms, elbows are underneath shoulders, or maybe extending the back down onto the earth. Perhaps extending the arms overhead. You might like to cactus the arms out wide or interlace your fingers together, maybe grabbing a hold of either elbow. And this creates a slight arch in the back, but we don't want to feel too much compression in the lumbar and sacral regions of the spine. So if this is proving difficult to maintain a steady breath, it might be an indication to back out of the posture a little bit. And in your own time, finding stillness, finding that release for the left hip, maybe the left quadricep. Breathe. Using these last few breaths in half saddle to see if you can soften a little more. And if you had your arms extended overhead, returning them the length of the body, using your palms, your forearms to help guide you upright. Bending the knee if it was extended, knees are bent, fanning the legs out once or twice, finding whatever movement feels good for you. Crossing the legs, placing the palms down under the shoulder, guiding yourself forwards, joining the knees together, separating the shins, lowering the thighs and the sits bones down onto the earth, finding your variation. Maybe that means staying upright. When you're ready, gently placing the sole of the left foot down on the earth, knee is facing skywards, or extending the leg, maybe staying upright, or guiding yourself down onto the mat, moving slowly and with intention. 3 more mindful breaths in this half saddle. And slowly guiding yourself up out of the posture. If you are lying down, it might be helpful to place your palms on your ankles, on your heels to help guide you upright. Again, finding whatever movement feels nice for you, keeping it slow, keeping it gentle. From here, scooting forwards, keeping the knees bent, placing the palms down under the thighs. Inhale, raise the chest. Exhale, curl and round. Coming into a variation of a seated cat-cow. Finding some spinal flexions and extensions. Gently activating the core muscles to support you in this variation. Keeping the soles of the feet connected to the earth. Knees are about hip-width distance apart. And in your own time, we'll begin to roll down one vertebra at a time, lowering the back down onto the mat. Drawing the knees to the chest, perhaps interlacing your fingers around the shins, the underside of the thighs. It might feel nice to gently rock the body from side to side. Maybe creating some circles with the knees. From here, interlacing your fingers around the right shin, guiding the right knee to the right armpit, extending the left leg out, feeling a beautiful release for the hips. You might like to open the right knee out to the side slightly or come into a half stirrup pose. You might know this as a half happy baby in Hatha Yoga. Perhaps grabbing onto the blade edge of that right foot with the right hand, guiding the right knee to the earth, to the armpit, whilst keeping the left leg extended, keeping both hips connected to the earth, giving yourself permission to soften. Using the breath to guide your awareness to this moment. 2 more mindful breaths in this half stirrup pose. And returning your right knee to the chest, interlacing your fingers around the shin, maybe rolling out the ankle, moving the foot in one direction and the other, and slowly bending the left knee, guiding both knees to the chest, and this time interlacing your fingers around the left shin, extending the right leg out, and we're grounding down through the heel of that right foot so that the toes and kneecaps stay facing skywards. Maybe you stay here. Maybe guiding the left knee to the left armpit, opening the hips slightly, or coming into your variation of half stirrup. Breathe. Two more mindful breaths in half stirrup. Gently guiding the left knee towards the chest, re-interlacing your fingers around the shin, finding some ankle rotations if that feels nice. And gently guiding both knees to the chest, maybe swaying side to side, finding a beautiful massage for the lower back. It might feel nice to open the knees slightly so that we're coming into a supine child's pose, or taking a full expression of stirrup pose or happy baby. Maybe swaying side to side, and when you're ready, settling into the posture. Using these last few breaths in stirrup pose to really be present. Notice what's going on in the mind, the body. Where are you still holding tension? And gently returning the knees to the chest. Mindfully lowering the feet down onto the earth. The heels are underneath the knees. Knees are hip width distance apart. And either staying here or you might like to take a bridge. Grounding down through the feet, raising the hips, the lower back, the mid back. And gently lowering down with control. A few more times, just finding a nice release for the hip flexors. When you're ready, returning the hips to the earth, extending the limbs out long as we set up for Shavasana, final relaxation. You might like to have the arms extended or place one palm on the heart space, the other on the belly, really facilitating a greater connection to the breath, to this moment. Giving yourself permission to be here as you are, softening, surrendering, knowing that whatever you are experiencing is right for you. Honoring this space, letting go. I invite you to pause the video here, stay in Shavasana for as long as you like. And when you're ready, beginning to invite some gentle movements into the body, perhaps interlacing the fingers together, stretching the arms overhead, finding length in opposite directions. Mindfully bending the knees and guiding yourself over to the left, coming into fetal position. Oftentimes in a Hatha yoga class we roll over to the right, but it can be nice in a Yin class to roll to the left as we stimulate the Pingala Nadi, the energy channel that is representative of solar energy. So after this very Yin slow practice, it can be nice to invite a subtle dimension of Yang into our experience. In your own time, guiding yourself upright to a seated position, rolling the shoulders back, closing practice in a space of gratitude, recognizing your efforts for showing up here today, celebrating your capacity to be gentle, to be present, When you're ready, we'll guide our palms together at the third eye center, honoring the light and the teacher that dwells within you and within each of us. And gently lowering the palms to the heart center, taking one mindful breath to close practice. Thank you all so much for today. Namaste.